Introduction to The Last Kids on Earth. I remember the first time I stumbled upon The Last Kids on Earth. Imagine a world where the grown-ups are gone and kids run the show, building their lives amidst zombies and monsters. It was unlike any other story I'd come across. The blend of horror, comedy, and pure adventure struck a chord with me. This world revolves around Jack Sullivan, an ordinary kid turned hero. Picture him, not more than 12, facing the apocalypse head-on. He's accompanied by his friends, loyal and brave. June, who's as fierce as they come, Quint, the tech genius, and Dirk, the muscle of the group. When the world ends, they don't just survive. They thrive, turning their treehouse into their fortress and making every day a quest for survival. The series originated as a graphic novel by Max Brallier, perfectly capturing the chaos and creativity of post-apocalyptic survival through the eyes of kids. The illustrations by Douglas Holgate bring the story to life, making every turn of the page burst with energy and excitement. Jack's journey isn't just about battling monsters. It's about discovering what it means to truly live. Here are the elements that stood out for me. Friendship and loyalty. In the thick of chaos, their bond grows stronger. Innovation, using everyday items in clever ways for survival. Humor amidst horror, laughing in the face of danger, turning fear into fun. Courage over comfort, stepping out of their comfort zones, embracing the unknown. Each book in the series builds on this foundation, weaving in new monsters, new challenges, and new friendships. And just when you think they've faced it all, a new twist pulls you back into their world, eager to see how these kids will tackle what comes next. In this apocalyptic playground, every day is an adventure and every page is a thrill. Meet the brave kids. I remember the first time I encountered these remarkable kids. Each one of them brought something unique to the table, making them a formidable team against the apocalypse. Let me introduce you to them. Jack Sullivan. The leader of the group, Jack has an unwavering spirit and a knack for coming up with wild, yet effective plans. Armed with his trusty Louisville slicer, he is always ready to take on any monster that crosses his path. His passion for keeping everyone safe and his adaptability make him a natural leader. June Del Toro. Fierce and fearless, June is the warrior member of the group. Her impressive fighting skills and sharp mind make her invaluable. Always ready with a sarcastic comment, June is quick to action, whether it's slicing through monsters or resolving conflicts within the group. Her bravery knows no bounds, and she's never afraid to run headfirst into danger. Quint Baker. The brains of the operation, Quint's intelligence knows no limits. Constantly inventing gadgets and strategizing the best approach to every problem, Quint is pivotal to the team's survival. His nerdy enthusiasm for science and technology provides the group with ingenious solutions and essential gear. Dirk Savage. Once a middle school bully, Dirk's transformation is nothing short of inspirational. His unmatched strength and loyalty quickly convinced the others that he was more than muscle. Whether he's breaking down doors or standing as the last line of defense, Dirk brings heart and humor to the team. Together, these kids navigate a world filled with monsters and challenges. Their friendship, perseverance, and bravery inspire everyone around them, proving that even in the darkest times, hope and heroism shine through. A glimpse into the apocalypse. I remember the first time I saw the world through Jack Sullivan's eyes. The streets, normally buzzing with life and full of noise, were eerily silent. Cars were abandoned mid-street. Their doors swung open as if their occupants had vanished into thin air. The air, thick with the scent of burning rubber and gasoline, was accompanied by an unsettling stillness. When I stepped outside, the once lively suburbia had transformed into a wasteland. Faded newspapers fluttered about, telling tales of the world before it all went south. It was like stepping into a twisted, post-apocalyptic movie, only this was our new reality. The houses stood like empty shells, their windows broken and their facades marked with the signs of chaos. Each street was like a different chapter, revealing clues about the calamity that had taken over. The first thing you learn is to adapt, and that's exactly what Jack did. He turned his old treehouse into a fortified base. There, I could see his ingenious traps and barricades. You'd find makeshift alarms rigged, and supplies stashed in every nook and cranny. Jack's room was stacked with canned food and bottled water, scavenged from every corner of their once bustling town. In Jack's world, normal rules don't apply anymore. Grocery stores turned into survival camps, schools into ghostly relics, and parks into hunting grounds for creatures you'd never dream of meeting. As I ventured further with Jack, the extent of the apocalypse unfolded like pages from a tattered book. The monsters, oh, the monsters were something out of a nightmare. Some with many eyes, others with too many hands. Their roars echoed down empty streets, making each shadow a potential threat. Jack and his friends, though, were fearless. Armed with makeshift weapons and endless courage, they took on these otherworldly beasts head-on, branding themselves as the last kids on Earth, battling both the monsters and their own fears. In this shattered world, everything familiar had become foreign. But through Jack's eyes and his relentless spirit, I found not just despair, but hope, resilience, and the unbreakable bond of friendship. The treehouse, a stronghold. I remember the first time I spotted the colossal oak in the heart of Wakefield, towering over the chaos below. It wasn't just any tree. It was destined to become our fortress. I needed a place that we could defend, a sanctuary from the end-of-the-world madness. Climbing those first branches felt like ascending into a new world detached from the horrors of the street below. Once I reached the top, I didn't waste time. The view was incredible, but I had to focus. The branches were sturdy, perfect for building. I envisioned platforms, lookout points, and even booby traps to keep monsters at bay. I started with the basics: ladders and ropes. Easy access but detachable in case of an invasion. Platforms. Multiple levels where we could stand guard or sleep. Camouflage. Branches and leaves to hide our presence from prying eyes. That first night, I slept under the stars, high above the nightmare unraveling below. I felt a sense of safety, a rare feeling since everything went wrong. The following days were a blur of hammering and sawing. Other kids joined in, each bringing their own unique skills to the mix. Dirk, with his muscles, helped lug up heavy planks. Quint applied his gadget wizardry to rig up an alarm system from old radio parts. Our treehouse soon had more than we initially imagined, turning into a small fortress. Weapon stashes, slingshots, makeshift spears, and pots full of boiling water. First aid kits, essential supplies for those unpredictable injuries. Gardening patches, tiny plots growing what little food we could manage. Sitting in our lookout tower, telescope in hand, I felt invincible. I scanned the horizon for any signs of threats, ready to sound the alarm at a moment's notice. The treehouse wasn't just a physical fortress. It became a symbol of our resilience. As the days turned into weeks and weeks into months, it was clear that this new world would test us. But from our treetop sanctuary, I knew we'd hold our ground, battling monsters with teamwork. Let me tell you about one of the wildest adventures I had right after the apocalypse hit. It was a day that started like any other, scavenging for supplies, avoiding the monstrous creatures that had suddenly taken over. But this time, I ventured a little too far from the treehouse where my friends and I had set up our headquarters. As dusk began to creep in, I heard a low growl behind me. Whipping around, I came face to face with a snarling beast, much bigger and meaner than anything I'd seen before. I knew I couldn't handle this thing on my own. I sprinted back to the treehouse, my heart pounding in my chest. My friends, June, Quint, and Dirk, were already on alert, having sensed something was up. Guys, we've got a big problem, I gasped, pointing toward the approaching creature. Without missing a beat, everyone sprang into action. We'd always known that surviving the apocalypse wasn't about being the biggest or the strongest. It was about working together. Dirk grabbed his makeshift club, a hefty piece of metal he'd found at an old scrapyard. Quint, our resident genius, quickly put together a smoke bomb using materials we'd scavenged earlier. June readied her agility skills, preparing to lead the creature into a trap we had set up for just this kind of situation. And me? I picked up my trusty baseball bat, feeling a mixture of fear and determination. We split up and took our assigned positions, communicating through hand signals we had developed. The beast, now much closer, lunged, teeth bared and eyes glowing with hunger. Dirk rushed forward, swinging his club with all his might to divert its attention. Quint threw the smoke bomb, creating a veil that confused the monster. Through the haze, June dashed and led the creature toward the trap. With perfect timing, I circled around and gave the signal. June executed a flawless flip, landing safely on the other side just as the beast fell into our pit. Trapped and bewildered, the creature roared, but it was too late for it now. I felt a rush of relief and pride as we all regrouped, sharing high fives and laughing in disbelief at our victory. That day, battling monsters wasn't just about survival. It reinforced why we were successful: our teamwork. Each of us brought something unique to the table, and together, we were unstoppable. New friendships and alliances. When the apocalypse hit, the world turned upside down. I remember the first time I stumbled across Dirk. The massive former school bully had become a survival expert, and his brute strength matched well with my resourcefulness. He was tough as nails, but once we shared our first can of beans over a campfire, I knew we'd be allies through thick and thin. Our partnership was formed out of necessity, forged in the flames of desperation. Then came Quint. The brainy kid who used to be the butt of every joke suddenly became our go-to tech genius. Quint could fix anything: blenders, sentinel robots, you name it. His backpack was this magical bag of tricks that never seemed to run out of gadgets. One time, he rigged up a monster alarm system out of a busted radio and some stray wires. Even Dirk had to admit it was genius. We relied on Quint not just for his brains, but for the hope he instilled in our motley crew. It wasn't long before we found June. Playing dodgeball with zombies became so much more tactical with her around. She was athletic, quick, and smart. June's combat skills were impeccable. She made fighting monsters look like a choreographed dance. We had an instant connection. She became the glue that helped our group stick together when tensions ran high. One unforgettable night, a new character entered our circle. Skelka, a Valentine warrior princess, materialized out of nowhere. She brandished a halberd and had armor that defied all logic. Despite her initial distrust, we bonded over our shared goal of combating the monster threat. Seeing Skelka fight was like witnessing a force of nature. I knew she added a layer of protection that made our group nearly invincible. These alliances transformed us from scared kids into a formidable team. Gathering around our fortified treehouse, we developed strategies, shared stories, and built friendships that, to this day, are the backbone of my survival. Each new person made us stronger, giving us the courage and skills to face whatever else the apocalypse threw our way. The importance of courage and hope. One crisp autumn day, standing atop the broken ruins of what used to be a school, I saw them. Jack, June, Quint, and Dirk, the last kids on Earth, banded together against unimaginable odds. Their faces, smudged with dirt, beamed with a fire I hadn't seen in a long time. Courage and hope. They embodied these traits like no others could. Courage in the face of danger. I'll never forget the moment they faced the monstrous Blarg. Jack, the fearless leader, charged forward with nothing but a makeshift sword crafted from debris. June, quick and sharp, flanked Blarg, her eyes blazing with determination. Quint, always the brain, had rigged an implosive device set to detonate upon impact. Dirk, the muscle, used raw strength to protect the others. The bravery they showed in that grim moment was nothing short of legendary. Hope in the midst of despair. However, more impressive than their bravery was their undying hope. I remember how, on the darkest of nights, Jack would weave tales of a future where they rebuilt the world. He spoke of clean streets, laughter echoing through the air, and safety, something they all longed for. "Guys, just imagine it," Jack would say, eyes sparkling in the dim firelight. "We're not just surviving. We are preparing for a new world." They all believed in those words. Hope ignited more than just their spirits. It crafted their reality. When faced with the soul-crushing task of scavenging food amidst chaos, they didn't just see scraps. They saw potential feasts and opportunities to build their strength for the battles ahead. Lessons from the last kids. Watching those kids, I learned essential lessons. Their courage made me realize that fear is not an obstacle but a partner in the fight for survival. Their hope reminded me that even in the apocalypse, tomorrow's dawn holds promise. Standing on that precipice, I felt an unshakable belief that courage and hope are the bedrock upon which any future, no matter how dire, can be built. Exploring the mysteries of their world. The day I found the hidden room in the old library, I was filled with a sense of wonder and dread. The air was thick with the scent of aged paper and mystery. I could hear my friends' excited whispers behind me as I gently pushed open the creaky door. Stepping inside, I felt like an archaeologist unearthing a forgotten tomb. What secrets would we uncover? What puzzles lay waiting to thwart us? Suddenly, we saw it. The giant map covered in markings and annotations, hidden beneath layers of dust. It felt like someone had left us a treasure trove of clues. I could practically see our future selves, poring over each line and symbol, trying to piece together the story of our world. There were cryptic symbols that seemed to promise hidden paths, annotated notes in a language none of us had seen before, drawings of creatures that didn't look entirely human. Later that evening, as we lit a fire in our makeshift camp, our minds buzzed with possibilities. Jack pointed out that the symbols might correspond to locations in town. Quint excitedly suggested the notes looked like an ancient form of code. Even Dirk, usually the skeptic, seemed to be cautiously intrigued. For June, the artist of our group, the creature drawings were especially fascinating. She explained that they resembled mythological beings mixed with something more organic. Each day that followed, we set out to explore these newfound mysteries. Only a few weeks in, we started noticing the significance of the markings and annotations. We learned to recognize trap-laden areas, hidden shortcuts, and even potential allies based on the information we deciphered. Our discoveries weren't without peril. There were moments when we had to outsmart lurking beasts or navigate treacherous terrain. Using the map's clues became a game of strategy, one that tested our wits and strengthened our bond. We felt like we were living inside a giant puzzle, each clue pushing us closer to some grand revelation. It's a world filled with endless enigma, alive with secrets and the pulse of ancient lore. And each day, I find myself yearning to turn the next stone, decipher the next code, and face the next challenge. For in this apocalyptic adventure, the mysteries of our world have become our greatest quest. Challenges and triumphs. I remember the first time I saw a zombie up close. My heart pounded like a drum. My palms were sweaty, but I knew I had to stand my ground. We didn't have much time to think about fear. Survival was all that mattered. Each day brought new challenges, whether it was navigating the twisted remains of our hometown or facing off against monstrous creatures that seemed straight out of nightmares. One of the hardest parts was keeping our spirits up. After all, how do you stay hopeful when everything you knew and loved has turned to dust? We made it work, though. We found silly ways to keep ourselves entertained, like our epic scavenger hunts. Sometimes we'd stumble upon hidden treasures, like an old comic book or a forgotten stash of candy, which felt like finding gold in a world gone mad. Each of us had our own battles to fight. Jack, our fearless leader, had to balance his heroic ambitions with the reality of our dire situation. June struggled with the memories of her family and the life she lost, but she never let it break her resolve. Quint, the genius of our group, faced challenges that no science project could prepare him for, yet his inventions often saved our skins. I'll never forget the first time we managed to take down a blarg, a massive, terrifying monster that tormented our every step. It took all of us working together, syncing our strengths and wits. That victory was our turning point. It showed us that even in the face of the apocalypse, we could triumph. Sure, we had our setbacks. There were moments of doubt when it felt like we were on the brink of losing everything. But every stumble made us stronger, more united. The apocalypse tests you, Jack once said, but it also reveals your true strength. Through each trial, we discovered the heroes within ourselves. It wasn't just about surviving. It was about finding our purpose and standing together as friends. We weren't just the last kids on Earth. We were the heroes of the apocalypse, the role of comedy and lightheartedness. When I first dove into The Last Kids on Earth, I didn't expect to find myself chuckling as often as I did. The apocalypse is hardly a setting you'd think ripe for humor, but these kids managed to turn even the bleakest zombie-filled scenarios into laugh-out-loud moments. Picture this. 1 minute, they're outrunning a horde of grotesque monsters, and the next, they're arguing about who gets the last slice of pizza. That's the charm of this story. It's a masterclass in balancing suspense and silliness. Jack, the leader, has a knack for witty one-liners that cut through the tension. It's just a zombie apocalypse, he'd say. No big deal. His humor is infectious. You can't help but smile even when the stakes are high. Then there's Quint. This kid is a genius, but he's got a goofy side that keeps everyone grounded. His inventions often come with hilarious trial-and-error moments that had me doubled over with laughter. Jack's witty one-liners. His humor makes terrifying situations seem more manageable. Quint's goofy genius. Every failed invention adds a comedic layer to their survival. June, on the other hand, offers a more sarcastic form of humor. She rolls her eyes at absurdities, yet can't help but join in when the boys' antics become too ridiculous to resist. And don't get me started on Dirk. He's the muscle of the group, but even he isn't immune to moments of comic gold. Just imagine him trying to act tough while secretly being terrified of tiny, harmless critters. Their interactions are gold mines of comedy gems. Jack mocks Quint's overcomplicated solutions. June sarcastically retorts to Jack's overly optimistic plans. Dirk freaks out over the smallest, least threatening creatures. This use of comedy doesn't just serve to entertain. It deepens their bond and makes me root for them even more. The blend of humor and heroism lightens the apocalypse's weight, making both the kids' journey and my reading experience unforgettable and, surprisingly, joyous. Evolving characters and leadership. When I first stumbled upon The Last Kids on Earth, I felt an instant connection with the characters. Jack Sullivan, the optimistic leader, caught my eye immediately. In the midst of the apocalypse, he believed every problem had a solution. His journal, filled with eccentric notes and bold plans, mirrored his unshakable confidence. I couldn't help but root for his imaginative schemes. June Del Toro came across as a pragmatic warrior. Her transition from class journalist to monster slayer stood out. The girl wielded a sense of realism and strength, unafraid to challenge Jack's decisions. Their dynamic felt like a dance of ideals, Jack's unwavering hope against June's grounded reality. Then there's Quint Baker, the brainiac, whose genius often worked behind the scenes. His scientific know-how and geeky charm provided a bit of comic relief. Yet, Quint showed me the power of intellect in a world where brute strength seemed to dominate. Lastly, Dirk Savage, the reformed bully, added a layer of redemption. Watching him evolve from a schoolyard tyrant to a dedicated protector was like watching a slow-blooming flower. His strength coupled with vulnerability made him a character worth following. I found myself fascinated by their evolving leadership. Jack, once a lone wolf, slowly learned the value of teamwork. He evolved into a leader who sought input and appreciated the strengths of each friend. June, ever the warrior, started balancing cautiousness with trust. Quint learned to bridge his scientific mind with real-world applications, while Dirk's transformation showed me the beauty of second chances and the impact of compassion. Together, they formed a tapestry of balanced leadership, each character's strengths complementing the others. Watching this blend of personalities navigate the apocalypse was nothing short of inspiring. Parental guidance and themes. I remember when I first delved into The Last Kids on Earth, Heroes of the Apocalypse, I was hit by a whirlwind of emotions. It's an adventurous tale sprinkled with a fair dose of humor, yet it traverses the rough terrain of the post-apocalyptic world with care. But as with any story geared towards the younger crowd, there's a mix of elements that parents might want to keep an eye on. Themes to watch for: friendship and loyalty. These kids stick together through thick and thin, reminding me of my own childhood pals. Their bond is a lesson in loyalty, showing how friendship can be the ultimate survival tool. Courage and resilience. Amidst monstrous chaos, the kids showcase bravery, proving that even the scariest moments can be managed with a bit of guts and a whole lot of heart. I found myself cheering them on, feeling their fear and triumph. Innovation and resourcefulness. The inventive ways the characters tackle problems are downright impressive. It's like watching a mix of MacGyver and Home Alone, but with an apocalyptic twist. Good versus evil. Classic battles between good and evil are ever present, but they're wrapped in enough humor to make them engaging rather than nightmare-inducing. Parental guidance points. Violence. While not overly graphic, there are battles with monsters and some perilous situations. It's all part of the adventure, but younger kids might find certain scenes intense. Language. The dialogue is generally clean, though there are occasional mild expletives. It's like the author sprinkled just enough spice to keep things real without overdoing it. Scary imagery. Some of the monsters and apocalyptic settings can be a bit spooky. I had a few moments where I thought, would my young cousin handle this okay? It's something for parents to consider, especially if their kids are sensitive to such content. Mature themes. Concepts of loss and survival float around subtly. It's not in your face, but a perceptive child might pick up on deeper meanings. All in all, I found myself navigating their world with anticipation, occasionally pausing to ponder these elements, knowing they shape a richer storyline for those ready to handle it. The cultural impact and fan following. I remember the first time I stumbled upon The Last Kids on Earth series. It felt like a breath of fresh air. The blend of apocalyptic thrills and quirky humor was unlike anything I'd encountered. This series quickly captivated not just me, but a legion of fans worldwide. Walking into a local bookstore, I noticed shelves adorned with vibrant covers featuring Jack, Quint, June, and Dirk. These characters became household names. Conversations buzzed with excitement about their latest adventures. Kids debated their favorite moments, while parents found joy in a series that encouraged their children to read. Online forums and social media became the lifeblood of the fan community. I joined a Facebook group dedicated to the series, where discussions were always spirited. Memes, fan art, and speculative threads about future plot twists filled my feed. These platforms became sanctuaries for fans to connect and share their love for the show. Conventions also played a pivotal role in cementing the series' cultural impact. I attended a Comic-Con where the creators hosted a panel. The room was packed with fans, some even dressed as their favorite characters. The Q&A session was a highlight, with folks eagerly asking questions about everything from character development to behind-the-scenes tales. It was electrifying to see the creators engage so passionately with the fanbase. The series didn't just stop at books and forums. Netflix brought our heroes to life in an animated series. I was glued to my screen, watching as the world I'd imagined in my head unfolded in full color. The adaptation was a hit, fueling the fandom even more. Merchandise soon followed, with everything from action figures to clothing lines. I recall buying a Jack Sullivan action figure, which now proudly sits on my bookshelf. Schools and libraries embraced the series, too. I volunteered at a local library event where we held a Last Kids on Earth reading marathon. Seeing kids engrossed in the books, discussing their favorite parts, and even acting out scenes was heartwarming. It's clear the series inspired a generation of readers. The cultural impact of The Last Kids on Earth is undeniable. It carved a niche in the vast landscape of children's literature and entertainment. From bookstores to online forums, and conventions to school libraries, its presence is felt far and wide. The fan following is a testament to its enduring charm and appeal. The future, what lies ahead. I remember the day when it all shattered, the day the world as I knew it crumbled into a chaos of beasts, destruction, and survival. It wasn't long before I realized that the apocalypse was not the end, but the beginning of an uncharted adventure. In this new world, the challenges ahead are as numerous as the monsters that roam the streets. Each dawn brings with it new perils, but also new hope. We, the last kids on Earth, have become more than mere survivors. We've transformed into heroes forged by adversity. When I look ahead, I see several vital aspects of our future. Building stronger alliances. As we've already learned, staying united is crucial. We need to solidify our friendships and perhaps find new allies among other survivors. Together, we are stronger. Innovating for survival. We can't rely only on what we already know. Creativity and innovation are key. Whether it's engineering new weapons or coming up with clever traps, our ingenuity will be our salvation. Exploring new territories. The world is vast and mysterious. We've only just begun to understand the lay of this new land. Exploring new territories might lead us to valuable resources or even to other groups of survivors. Understanding the enemy. The monsters that plague our new world are formidable. To effectively combat them, we must learn more about them. Understanding their weaknesses and behaviors could be the key to our survival. Hope and resilience. Above all, keeping hope alive is critical. It's hope that drives us forward, allowing us to face each new day with a warrior's spirit. I'll never forget the time we stumbled upon an old library. It was dusty and seemed abandoned, but inside, we found books and maps. It was like discovering a treasure trove of forgotten knowledge. We spent hours there, reading voraciously, soaking up information that might help us survive. This journey is far from over. What lies ahead may be uncertain, but one thing is clear. We are ready to write the next chapter of this story with our courage, friendship, and unyielding spirit.